Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Markowitz. Actually, before, I think that's actually, did you have anything else to report before you?
Nothing else to report.
Well, where's your chart? Where's your chart? Did you not talk to Mr. Nwadnik to get this blazed?
It is not
Mr.
on
Marks, I want to give you credit. I want to give kudos. It doesn't happen very often. I want to...
That is true. Unfortunately, it's not on the...
All right, we'll just give it to him. I'll hold it up for the viewing public. Actually, take that right up there, right up to Tom and show it to him if you would.
Okay. Focusing on...
Can you focus on that, Tom? Can you get it?
This is high tech here.
A little bit. There you go.
Put your seatbelts on.
No, just the chart. I wanted the chart. I mentioned to him. He doesn't get it. Were you able to see it? The people haven't looked at home. This is the board. This is Mr. Markowitz's crowning achievement. What you see there is from 2000. Mr. Gilfart, 2004. This is extraordinary achievement for Mr. Markowitz. This is one of the real benefits of being a reval community. So what you see is the SCAR trends. In other words, the residential properties challenge. Remember the process. You basically get your as a reval community every year. You get a notice in June 1st telling you what your valuation is, and you have till the third Tuesday of June to challenge that valuation.
That's the town.
And as I said, I met with the Board of Assessment Review this afternoon to see how we're doing. What are we doing? And quite frankly, I was very pleased to hear that we got great kudos and compliments for vision appraisal and a very strong support for Mr. Markowitz. Now, part of it has to do with this, I think, chart, what you're about to see. So basically, you get the notice in June 1st. You have till the third Tuesday in June to grieve if you don't like it. And in the grievance process, you go to the BAR, the Board of Assessment Review. So there's a five-person board, a jury of your peers look and say, look, you know what, this Mr. Markowitz is smoking a funny substance. His valuation is wholly incorrect, and we want to review that. And this year, as I understand it, do you have the numbers on these scars? How many challenges we had? How many cases do we go before the board?
I believe I'll have
400, 500? 400 or 500 residential?
There were, I believe, 500 residents.
Okay. Out of which about 120 got changed?
That is correct.
So we had 500 residential, more or less. 120 were changed, i.e. lowered. We can't hire them. And then another 200, 300 commercial?
No, it wasn't that high.
150? Okay, 150 commercial, and again about 100 and some odd got changed? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's that. Now, if you still, so you've grieved, you've gone to the Board of Assessment Review, and you're still not happy, you can go to small claims court. And that's what we call a SCAR process. And then a small claims court, you have a small hearing in front of a judge. Now, the chart the people saw at home is, this is what's happened in terms of small claims for residential people across Westchester County. So from 2004, they've gone from 742 to 9,711. We'll put this on the website for you. 742 to 9,711. You can see that trend off the charts complaints from the residents of Westchester community. Now, what's the story in the town? I hope these numbers are right, Mr. Markowitz.
Oh, they are absolutely right. I promise you.
And what's the story in the town? Flatline. No change. And again, that's the benefit of the reval community. And so, Mr. Markowitz,
100%
kudos to you and your team for that. That's a wonderful demonstration. Last thing before you go, we sat down and talked with the Board of Assessment Review today to see how we're doing. You and I sat down and, talked about how do we basically get the public more involved in the valuation process. And we talked about how do we get the public in terms of participating. So what we've agreed today, just so the board knows, normally, as I said, June 1st, you get a notice. Again, there are very few reval communities to look at. And then you have till the third Tuesday in June to grieve. Not a lot of time. And one of the complaints in our reval process last time is we didn't give people enough time. So what we're going to do this time, we're going to put out a preliminary assessment in March or April of this year, correct?
Correct.
You call it
2012.
2012, right? So next year.
Year.
Yep. Because you only get once a year. You only get one chance a year to change your assessment. One chance. So we're going to put that out in March or April this year. You call it a tentative assessment? What was the technical?
It's going to be a preliminary 2012 assessment.
So you get a preliminary 2012 assessment in March or April of next year. And then we're going to offer meetings with vision appraisal and the assessment staff again here. Highly unusual to do that. You usually do it once every 6 years. We're going to do it every year. Because we're fundamentally committed to making our assessment role the best in New York State. Okay? So you're going to have an opportunity to meet with the vision appraisal. Now, if you don't meet, when you get that tentative assessment, if you don't say anything or do anything, that's going to be your assessment June 1st. If you don't like it, what you should do is meet with vision appraisal and tell them you don't like it. And we'll review it. Now, the way the system works is then on June 1st, you're going to get a definitive assessment. There's no time for a second round of interviews, unfortunately. So you'll meet with vision appraisal, you'll meet with Mr. Markowitz, you get a chance to tell your story. So we're creating another chance to if you will, grieve informally. And then June 1st, you're going to get your assessment roll. That's an official New York State mandated date. And then by the third Tuesday of June, okay, you're going to have to grieve if you don't like what you got back. Now, and then you go in front of the Board of Assessment Review, a jury of your peers. So what we want to do is just create as many opportunities. If we got it wrong, we want to know. If you think we got it wrong, we want to know. We want our assessment roll to be the best in New York State. I think it'll take us 2 or 3 years to be the absolute best, because we're going to get it better every year. But the only way to get it better is to make this publicly known. We're going to have a dramatic, dynamic public relations campaign to people, everybody know that this is happening. So,
are we paying vision appraisal extra to do this?
We're going to have to, yes, it will cost us some additional money, because we, basically, absolutely.
And they're going to be acting like a Board of Assessment review before the Board of Assessment?
No, what they're going to do is support Mr. Markowitz's department to sit down, because if you remember, if you go back to the IWO report that we got in our first week in office, Councilman Mendocino, the previous reval, according to them, was, a colossal failure in the sense that they couldn't substantiate any numbers. Maybe actually, Mr. Markowitz, wants you to do, if you do me a favor, would you go down to your office and bring that book that has all the substantiation?
Well,
No, I want to get it anyway. Would you get that for me, please, and bring it back? Yep. So the bottom line is, so unfortunately, we were unable to substantiate the values in 2004. As you know, we've worked very hard since then to improve our valuation. Aerial photography, street-level aerial photography, state-of-the-art, street-level photography. Technology didn't exist before. And so we've worked very hard. We brought in vision appraisal, as you know. We put in RFP, et cetera, et cetera. The previous administration cost $2.4 million. $2.4 million. It was illegal. There was no board resolutions. Not one. Oh, sorry. There was 3 contracts given to MJW. 3 contracts given to MJW. One board resolution approving that first contract for data assessment. A $1.5 million no bid, no lose contract.
That's not the question.
It's absolutely right on, because you're asking about the cost of vision appraisal. And so what I want to,
pay them extra to do this. That's all.
Yeah, and I want to make clear that reval's not for free. Now, in the previous administration, it cost us $2.4 million. I want you to understand how it got to $2.4 million. There's 3 contracts given to MJW Consulting for $1.9 million. The first contract, there was a board resolution. The second contracts, 2 contracts, there was no board resolution. So it was illegally given to MJW Consulting on a no-bid contract, no-lose contract. Okay. And Paul Junkie, remember Paul Junkie? $450,000. I want to get into it. I want to get into it.
Because it's a political thing.
Listen, it's a political. I'm sorry, no.
I just wanted to know if we had to pay vision appraisal more, so that when we do the budget, we'll be able to put it in the budget.
But if you're going to ask that question,
I didn't ask anything about whether it was flawed and how it was illegal and da-da-da. I just wanted to know, do we have to budget more money for vision appraisal, which I don't have a problem with.
Right. Well, I just want to be clear, because we got a whole viewing public at home. And certainly the viewing public is concerned about cost, as are we, and I want to, make it very clear. It's $2.4 million for them, $350,000 for us. That's a $2 million saving. $2 million saving. Now, Paul Junkie was paid $450,000. $450,000. Mr. Markowitz, how many days do you recollect Mr. Junkie working here?
3.
3 days. That's $150,000 a day. Not bad. Not bad. Mr. Junkie was a no-show job. No-show job. So if you're going to ask the question, you're going to get the answer. If you don't ask the question, you don't need to get the answer. But if you can ask the question, you're going to get the answer. So we put a contract up to bid. We had 5 firms come in. 5 firms come in. We had extensive interviews with every one of those firms. Thorough interviews with every one of those firms. We chose Vision Appraisal. Now, Vision Appraisal is operating, as it turns out, in 400 communities. We hired MJW Consulting, operating out of a garage. And the reason then, in fact, I'll tell you exactly why I didn't want to be political, but you know what? The Board of Assessment Review said today, they said, you know what? If we had those guys on day one, we wouldn't be talking about reval today. That's exactly a quote. You can get anybody in the room. He said, if we hired Vision Appraisal on day one, we would be not talking about reval today. That was an exact quote from your Board of Assessment Review.
Well,
so ultimately, now since we're digging out of a hole, and since it is a political season, and people have tried to distort our record on reval, and people have tried to cast aspersions on our revaluation, I think it's incumbent for the public to know. So yes, we're going to go the extra mile, that extra step to bring Vision Appraisal, and yes, it will cost. I don't have a number for you today. I will get the number for you for our next meeting.
So my take on this, with regards to the upfront costs, Michelle, this is what I'm taking on this. So if we take the proactive stance and bring Vision on in an intermediate position where they can identify some steps in between the reval, I think that the effort or the money put forward upfront will save us on the back end.
I am not complaining about the money at all. I just asked a question that opened a whole can of worms, and then my other...
I'm not, this is just my take on it for what I'm hearing tonight. So, and this, correct me if I'm wrong, Mitch. So if we bring in Vision in this position in an off reval year, where they can help modify the values, it puts the town in a better position where it may benefit the town, obviously reduce legal expenses, reduce appraisal expenses. So if we spend... if we spend 40 up front, it may save us 50 or 60 on the back end.
Let me actually clarify a couple of things. First thing, Vision is already hired. Vision is already hired to do trending analysis. So we're already paying them
$25,000.
Geez, that was who the hell negotiated that contract? That's an extraordinary. Anyway, $25,000 a year. So I expect it'll be another maybe $10,000 for the interviews process. Would you expect?
Or less. I don't expect it to.
So they're already here, Deputy Supervisor Villanova. It's just a question of augmenting their presence to provide the community, because our values are only get perfect if you help them get us perfect. You have to help us get the values perfect. Now, I know there's a number of people out there that are undervalued that haven't come forward. Hopefully, we'll eventually find you. But ultimately, the best way to get the valuations correct is working very closely with the community.
But we have to be fair here and make, in all due respect to our appraisal and reval information from Vision, it wasn't perfect either. So, just so, I know you're talking about the old reval versus the new reval. The new reval was not perfect either. I mean, it may have been better, and we're getting to the point where it's going to be the best, but it wasn't perfect either.
Well, actually, thank you for saying that, Councilwoman Mendocino. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I sat here on a special meeting called and said it wasn't perfect.
Right.
And there were mistakes made. I would have wished we would have had a second round of interviews.
Right.
I wish we had a second round. I appreciate we are in campaign season, so I don't apologize for getting upset. It's just when people talk of, when they disparage the reval process, ultimately it's based on confidence. And one of my concerns here is that they're going to undermine the confidence that all of us here have created over the last 4 years, and I don't want to see that happen. So I want to go that extra mile and make certain that people have that extra opportunity to be with Vision Appraisal and continue forward. But absolutely correct. There was we picked up 122 polls, but I think we missed 8 in a particular area. So that's correct.
And we try and move the goal line forward every year.
Moving forward. That's right.
Okay.
Beautiful. Any other questions for Mr. Markowitz?
Yeah,
Please.
That book.
Oh, yeah, where's the book?
This is,
Yeah, okay. So can I have that, please?
yes,
Sorry.
just return it to me.
No, I'm not gonna, no, I'm just gonna, so, well, actually, again, Tom, okay. See, this is when our first week in office, and again, we didn't make a lot of hay about this because we're responsible public officials. But at the end of the day, this is what MJW could not produce. MJW could not produce this book. They couldn't produce anything like this. In order to value 11,000 properties, you need to be able to substantiate it. You need a coherent approach. It has to be systematic, categorical. That's why vision appraisal is so good. You're absolutely right, Councilman, saying that we need to do it better, and there were some problems with some of the data. You're absolutely correct. But the foundation, and this is the problem, it's difficult to communicate. Quite frankly, the previous reval was a beautiful car with no engine. And this is the engine. This is the information that goes behind it that gives you confidence that they have the right numbers. So thank you, Mr. Markowitz, and thank you for all the hard work on that.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, any other questions for Mr. Markowitz? Thank you. Okay, Mr. Markowitz, thank you so much. Finance, I think we pretty much covered it tonight, didn't we? Yep. Mr. Mecca, we want to wish him well. I hope, can you just tell people, how's he doing?
He's recovering nicely. He had a hip replacement exactly a week ago, and he's up and walking. He's in rehab, and he hopes to be back very soon. He thought he'd be back by tonight, but...
Well, I missed hearing the Mr. Honorable Mr. Mecca come up, and we want to wish him well and wish him the best speedy recovery. And the superintendent of highways, as you heard, his aunt passed away, so he's not here tonight. And the park foreman is where? Don't get up, just tell me where he is.
Recently remarried on his honeymoon.
Do we allow vacation time for that? All right.
I didn't know that.
Okay, good. So we'll go straight to comments from, Town Attorney Noto. I skipped you, sorry.
Thank you, Supervisor. Just briefly, as you recall, the board had authorized a certiorari proceeding against the City of Rye for the removal of the exemption at Rye Town Park. And I can report that I did file a cert claim in a timely manner and filed my affidavits of service. Now you may have read that the County of Westchester Board of Legislators did not authorize filing of a cert claim on behalf of the Tiki Bar.
What happened there?
I don't want to say publicly what I really think about my former colleagues on the board, but I think they didn't exercise particularly good judgment. And if you read the article, they were uncomfortable with the concept of suing a municipality. The irony of the fact that the HUD settlement, they were pressuring the administration to sue municipalities to allow affordable housing, which for some legislators is okay, but to defend the sanctity of dedicated parkland, which I think is something worth fighting for, I was a little shocked that the legislature didn't find that as compelling as I do. However, we have found, the county attorney and myself, a provision in the law that provides that the tenant, meaning the Tiki Bar, could file a cert. Now, usually in cert claims, it has to be the owner of the property. But because of their lease whereby the taxes are passed through to the tenant, there is this arcane provision that permits the tenant to file. So the tenant, Tiki Bar or the corporation, did file a cert as well. So we will be pretty much on the same path, although we have slightly different cases. And I suspect that probably in January we'll file a motion for summary judgment, because there really are no issues. It's really just a legal it's just a legal question whether we're entitled to the exemption or not. And so there's no issue in terms of the values and that kind of thing. So I would expect in January we'll make a motion for summary judgment, and hopefully we'll win, but who knows? But at least I think the good news is that we'll get an answer before next June. I mean, the point is that we won't have to wait 4 years to get this thing resolved, hopefully.
Well, I want to thank you. Again, you're not doing it pro bono, but you're doing it as part of your service. And now you got the whole thing on your shoulders.
That's something I need to revisit next time.
Look at the budget.
I'm not sure I was such a great decision on my part. But anyway, as I sit there in the pile of papers, I can imagine. I just want to say it's been a remarkable 4 years. As you know, as we wind up for now. And I think we've done a lot of things here from the legal department we've had a great run. We've done a great, had a lot of fun with the in-rem. I think we've collected a lot of money, which the town deserved and was a little unfair. But I think we've cut our budget, we've reduced our outside expenses, and I think on the certs we've been pretty aggressive about defending them. And the three lawyers that I use, Mark Toulis and Jeff and Aldo, have all really done an excellent job.
Yeah.
And they work very closely with Mitchell, and most of the time they like Mitch and they say nice things about him. No, Mitch works very hard on the certs, and I think that's an important part of his job. Maybe it's a little overwhelming at times for him, because I know he does the scars almost single-handedly,
Right.
or pretty much single-handedly, and there's lots of those. But in terms of the things we've done, there's a lot more to do, but I think we've done a lot to basically make the office much more modern and progressive and efficient, and I think that's a positive.
Thank you so much, Mr. Noto. Mr. Gelfarb.
Yes, hi. As you know, there will be an election very, very soon. I'd like to ask everyone to come out and vote. It's 2 weeks away. It's the absolutely most important thing we can do as citizens. It's something all our forebears fought for, struggled for. I'd like to urge everyone to vote. As my time here is winding down, I would just like to thank really the terrific staff at the town of Rye. It's really a terrific group of departments, a terrific group of workers. I'd like to thank the assessor for his work, very tough job that he has. I'd like to thank our finance staff. They've done great jobs behind the scenes, put together fantastic budgets year after year after year by cutting spending, by cutting taxes, by increasing our fund balance. They have really, really performed a tremendous public service. I'd like to thank Nick Mecca. I wish him a speedy recovery. He has really modernized his department over the years. I'd like to thank him for his work. I'd like to thank Hope for really, really just being an exemplary town clerk, for just answering our questions, for getting out the minutes every week, for providing really terrific public service to the taxpayers and residents of our town. I'd like to thank the superintendent of highways. I express our regrets on his loss. I'd also like to thank the rather sometimes embattled Parks Department. I wish Mr. DeLeo well on his honeymoon. I know he's got a tough job. And most of all, I would like to thank, aside from thanking Mr. Noto for the fine job he's done as attorney. He's been really terrific to work with, really saved us a lot of money, done a fantastic job at cutting expenses, and in particular getting fine results from all of these cert proceedings and the other work he does behind the scenes. And last, I'd like to thank both Bishop, really a terrific public servant, really came out of nowhere, has done a phenomenal job over the last 4 years, really gone above and beyond the call of duty. He really deserves a lot of credit, in particular the recognition, the formal recognition that he got a few years ago. He deserves another commendation, and I hope that I hope the board sees fit to give him one. And lastly, I'd like to thank the really terrific, outstanding board I've served with. It's been a pleasure. It's only going to be 2 more months. I wish them all well. I thank each one. I'd like to thank each one by name. Bob Nioris, I'd like to thank you for all your work. Billy Villanova, you've been great to work with. I'd like to thank my colleague and someone who we keep each other entertained during the meetings, Michelle Mendocino, even if we speak a little loud at times. And most of all, I think Joe Carvin really deserves a real round of applause. He has just been fantastic, done everything you could ask someone to do. Beyond all the phenomenal work he does for the town, he doesn't even take a salary for doing this work. So I would like to thank him for really for all the work he has done, a real pro bono public servant and a real visionary forward thinker who is really trying to move both the town and our entire state government into the 21st century. So my final words are, please get out and vote in 2 weeks, and good night.
Thank you, Councilman Miller. Thank you for your kind words. Councilman Mendocino.
Oh, I'm not saying another.
I understand.
I can't wait till next month's meeting so we can go back to normal.
Is that now? I wish Richard Abel were here. I wish Richard were able to hear, if I could, because he pilloried me when I cross-endorsed Councilwoman Mendocino, so I can't wait to get back to normal either.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Councilman Nioris.
I think it's been a tremendous 4 years here. I think we've accomplished a lot as a board. I think everyone's been superb in terms of trying to move the town forward. Councilman Gelfarb went through all the names. I think they all deserve another round of applause. I think working with Councilman Gelfarb was fantastic. He lent a lot to this board. I'm sorry to see him go, but we probably have someone good to replace him as well. As you well know, an election's in 2 weeks. It's an off-cycle election. It's not a national election. Generally, we have a lower turnout than we typically would like. I would just encourage everyone out there to come out and vote. I mean, this is your country. This is your town. Your vote matters. We'd like you to come out and vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Neers. Deputy Supervisor Villanova.
I think the only person that Dave did not thank was the Academy. One thing that you probably experienced tonight is that we take care of a lot of business here, and we always work in the best interest of the public and really the resident taxpayers. We also have some levity as well, and we can do that because we have a very good working relationship with everyone and good tolerance, and I think that comes from really a strong blended board. We all bring a unique quality to the town and to the management styles. So Supervisor Carvin has been a very progressive thinker, and he has had an enormous impact on the town. So I wish him well in the upcoming election, and Bob and the rest of the people that are running for office here on the board. And I want to thank Dave for a stellar 4 years. His commentary has been very funny over the past 4 years, and if he gets to the county, I'm sure he'll bring some comedy there as well. So, good luck.
Thank you, Deputy Supervisor Villanova. I'd just like to echo those remarks. I think, I've really enjoyed working with this board. I've really enjoyed working with this board. I was thrilled we crossed and endorsed Councilwoman Messina. She adds a different perspective, not because she's a Democrat, not because she's a woman, because she's a clear thinker with a different perspective. And I can't thank her enough for all her hard work and putting up with some of the histrionics. And I think, one thing, I remember being at a big Republican fundraiser that I organized, and I said, look, it's not about Republican or Democrat. It's really about serious-minded people taking responsibility for their community. And I know everybody on that board and everybody in the town really stands up to that ideal. I think that's important to think through. I want to thank all the people in the town that Councilman Gelfarb spoke about. It's been a tough 4 years. We've asked the town department heads and town employees to take on an awful lot. We really have. You don't take $1 million out of a budget without asking the full-time employees to take on an awful lot. There's been, my good friend B. Canetta says, working on the town board's like being a Boy Scout, and working at the village is like a Navy SEAL Team 9. And I would respectfully disagree a little bit in the sense that I think that the town has an outsized impact. If we get exercise because we're passionate about what we do, and it could cost, it really could cost our school children millions of dollars in rebates if people cynically press forward with some of these certioraries. But ultimately, the town has an outsized impact. It's a small budget, but we assess and value 11,000 households. There's nothing more important is to get that equity rate to make sure everybody's paying their fair share, not more, not less, but their fair share. We run a park, Rye Town Park. It's really a seasonal business with 70 employees. We have a court system. The town clerk, Hope Vespia, is our not-so-secret special weapon. She's probably the nicest and most efficient clerk in all of New York State. We hope that all of our departments can be as strong as the clerk, and then we would be, without fail, best in class in New York State. So I want to thank you in particular and all the other department heads for all their hard work, and this board for working so hard together. Councilman Gelfarb, I can tell you we're really going to miss you. We want to wish you every success going forward. You've been a paragon of integrity. David Gelfarb, you can't ask for anything more than somebody to give you their best view, their best opinion, and he's been an absolutely rock-solid citizen in every endeavor, everything he's done. He took on the policy manual, initially, and did employee handbook, and it was absolutely spectacular work. And I know he supported Town Attorney Noto being a lawyer. in everything we've done. So, we aspired to transparency, integrity, and community. And as I say, Mr. Gelfarb has been a paragon of integrity, and we're really going to miss him here on the board. Finally, as we all said, please go out and vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for, just go out and vote. That's the important thing. We talked about in our campaign when we ran in 2007, we really want you to judge us on not just what we do financially, but really if we're going to achieve this model American community status, we need to get our voter participation rates up. And so I encourage you to go out and vote. And November 8th, and no matter who you vote for, just let's get those voter participation rates up. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to bring the meeting to a close.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay.
Gelfarb.
Aye.
Messina. Ayers.
Aye.
Villanova. Carter. I like to say your name.